Hello from Kingfisher, Oklahoma. Today we're going to look at 6 things from Numbers 19 and 20. One, we see something that's been a little bit in the news, and that's a red heifer. Israel now has some red heifers. Whether they've gone through the ceremony of the ashes and all, don't know. But this is the ceremony of the red heifer, and this is what it was for the children of Israel originally. One, the red heifer of certain specifications is used for this special purification. They take the red heifer, they burn the red heifer a certain way, and only certain people can be there. And what it's supposed to do is be sprinkled over some water, hyssop is dipped and sprinkled on the people who have touched a dead body. On the third day, they're supposed to come forth, get the hyssop, sprinkle it on them, and then on the seventh day they bathe again. Now they're clean, they can rejoin the nation. So number 2, you do it, you take the sprinkling on the third day. On the seventh, you're clean. If you don't do that, then you're cut off from the people. So this is pretty serious. And again, what we're seeing, number 3, is often we see a moral law. If you do this, you are in right standing with God. If you don't do it, you aren't. But we also see that God designed these things to be helpful also. So we know, modern day, that dead bodies can carry disease. So people that have dead bodies need to purify themselves. They need to be cleansed. And of course, this part was a ceremonial cleansing, but they bathed also. And if somebody died in a house, we see that, any open pots had to be cleaned, and some of them had to be broken, and all that kind of stuff is, 1, moral. Are you going to follow God or not? 2, helpful, because now they're cleaning out what possibly could be disease. This is kind of a big deal. And we see it going forward, all the moral laws that God says. For example, do not be drunk. That's a moral law. God said it. Don't do it. But 2, we see all the helpful things that come from following that law. All the possible consequences of drunkenness we can avoid by obeying. Number 4, in chapter 20, Miriam dies in Kadesh, in the wilderness of Zin. That's Moses' sister. Everyone's kind of aging. Remember, Moses was 80 when this journey starts. And as we're going, we see that Miriam dies there. Number 5, the people complain again. Shocker. They're complaining about no water. They say we'd rather be in Egypt. They complain against God. They complain against Moses. Man, if this doesn't motivate you to not be a complainer, I'm not sure what will. Goodness, in my life, that's something I'm really thinking about going through this, is making sure I don't have this attitude of complaining. Number 6, Moses is to gather the people so that water can be provided. And God says you've got to speak to this rock. So he gathers the people, but he's angry at the people. And God says he has unbelief also. So instead of speaking to the rock, he strikes the rock twice with his staff. Water does come out. God provides water for the people. But Moses and Aaron both get punished here and said, you will not enter the promised land now. Oh, that hurts. Moses has been doing great up until this point. And now, because of his unbelief that God could provide water from a rock by speaking to it, then he cannot go into the promised land. He dies with this generation. And we see that Joshua will come in. So let's check it out. Chapter 19. And the Lord spake unto Moses and unto Aaron, saying, This is the ordinance of the law which the Lord hath commanded, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, that they bring thee a red heifer, without spot, wherein no blemish is, and which has never had a yoke. And ye shall give her unto Eleazar the priest, that he may bring her forth without the camp. And one shall slay her before his face. And Eleazar the priest shall take of her blood with his finger, and sprinkle her blood directly before the tabernacle of the congregation 7 times. And one shall burn the red heifer in his sight, his her skin and her flesh and her blood and her dung he shall burn. And the priest shall take cedar wood and hyssop and scarlet and cast it into the midst of the burning of the heifer. And the priest shall wash his clothes, and he shall bathe his flesh in water, and afterwards he shall come into the camp, and the priest shall be unclean until even. And he that burneth her shall wash his clothes in water, and bathe his flesh in water, and shall be unclean until the even. And a man that is clean shall gather up the ashes of a heifer, and lay them up without the camp in a clean place. It shall be kept for the congregation of Israel, of the children of Israel, for a water separation. It is a purification for sin. And he that gathereth the ashes of the heifer shall wash his clothes, and be unclean until the even. It shall be unto the children of Israel, and unto the stranger that sojourneth them, a statute forever. He that toucheth the dead body, and here we go, this is why they're doing this. He that touches the dead body of any man shall be unclean 7 days. He shall purify himself with it on the 3rd day, and on the 7th day he shall be clean. But if he purify not himself in the 3rd day, then the 7th day he shall not be clean. Whoever toucheth the dead body of any man that is dead, and purify himself not, defileth the tabernacle of the Lord. And that soul shall be cut off from Israel, because the water of separation was not sprinkled upon him. He shall be unclean. His uncleanness is yet upon him. This is the law, that when a man dieth in a tent, all that come into the tent, and all that is in the tent, shall be unclean for 7 days. And upon every open vessel which hath no covering bound upon it, it's unclean. And whosoever toucheth one that is slain with the sword in the open fields, or a dead body, or the bone of a man, or a grave, shall be unclean 7 days. And for the unclean person they shall take of the ashes of the burnt red heifer, it just says heifer, but I'm reminding you, of purification for sin, and running water shall be put in there into a vessel. And a clean person shall take hyssop, and dip it in the water, and sprinkle it upon the tent, and upon the vessels, and upon the persons that were there, and upon him that toucheth the bone, or one slain, or dead, or a grave. And the clean person shall sprinkle upon the unclean on the 3rd day, upon the 7th day. And on the 7th day he shall purify himself, wash his clothes, bathe himself in water, and shall be clean at even. But the man that shall be unclean, and shall not purify himself, the soul shall be cut off from among the congregation, because he hath defiled the sanctuary of the Lord, and water of separation hath not been sprinkled upon him. He is unclean. And it shall be a perpetual statute unto them, that he that sprinkleth the water of separation shall wash his clothes. He that toucheth the water of the separation shall be unclean until even. And whatsoever the unclean person toucheth shall be unclean, and the soul that toucheth it shall be unclean until even. Chapter 20. And it came the children of Israel, even the whole congregation, into the desert of Zin. Remember, they're wandering the wilderness now. They've got 40 years. And Miriam died there and was buried there. And there was no water for the congregation, and they gathered themselves together against Moses and against Aaron. And the people chode with Moses, meaning argued, and spake, saying, Would God that we had died when our brethren died before the Lord. And why have ye brought up the congregation of the Lord into this wilderness, that we and our cattle should die there? And wherefore have we come up out of Egypt to bring us into this evil place? It is no place of seed, or of figs, or of vines, or of pomegranates, neither is there any water to drink. Now remember, God is providing food by manna here. So they have food, so let's not feel too sorry for them. And Moses and Aaron went from the presence of the assembly of the door of the tabernacle of congregation, and fell on their faces, and the glory of the Lord appeared to them. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Take a rod, gather thou the assembly together, thou and Aaron thy brother, and speak unto the rock before their eyes, and it shall give forth water, and thou shalt bring forth to them water out of the rock. So thou shalt give the congregation and their beasts drink. And Moses took the rod before the Lord, as he commanded him. And Moses and Aaron gathered the congregation together before the rock, and he said unto them, Hear now, rebels, must we fetch you water out of this rock? And Moses lifted up his hand, and with his rod he smote the rock twice. And the water came out abundantly, and the congregation drank, and their beasts also. The Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron, and said, Because ye believed me not, to sanctify me in the eyes of the children of Israel, Therefore you shall not bring this congregation into the land which I will give them. So there's their punishment. They can't go to the promised land now. This is the water of Meribah, which means strife, because the children of Israel strove with the Lord, and he sanctified them. And Moses sent messengers from Kadesh unto the king of Edom. Thus saith thy brother Israel, Thou knowest the travail that hath fallen us, how our fathers went down into Egypt, and we have dwelt in Egypt a long time. And the Egyptians vexed us and our fathers. And when we cried out to the Lord, he heard our voice and sent an angel and brought us forth out of Egypt. And behold, we are in Kadesh, a city in the uttermost of thy border. Let us pass, I pray thee, through thy country. We will not pass through the fields or the vineyards, neither will we drink the water of the wells. We will go by the king's highway. We will not turn to the right hand or the left until we have passed thy borders. And Edom said unto them, now remember, Edom is Esau's, so his descendants. So remember, Jacob became Israel, Esau became Edom. So these guys are semi-related. They should have a good working relationship. Edom said to them, Thou shalt not pass by me, lest I come out against thee with a sword. And the children of Israel said, We will not go by the highway. We will go by the highway. If my cattle drink thy water, I will pay for it. I will only, without doing anything else, go through on my feet. And he said, Thou shalt not go through. And Edom came out against them with much people and a strong hand. Thus Edom refused to give Israel passage through his border. Wherefore Israel turned away from him. And the children of Israel journeyed the whole congregation from Kadesh and came unto Mount Hor. And the Lord spoke unto Moses and Aaron in Mount Hor by the coast of the land of Edom, saying, Aaron shall be gathered to his people, and he shall not enter into the land which I have given to the children of Israel, because ye rebelled against my word at the water of Meribah. Take Aaron and Eleazar his son, and bring them up into the Mount Hor, and strip Aaron of his garments, and put them on Eleazar his son. And Aaron shall be gathered unto his people, and shall die there. And Moses did as the Lord commanded, and they went up to the Mount Hor in the sight of all the congregation. Moses stripped Aaron of his garments and put them on Eleazar his son, and Aaron died there on the top of the mount. And Moses and Eleazar came down from the mount, and all the congregation saw that Aaron was dead. They mourned for Aaron 30 days, even all the house of Israel. So there you go. No surprise, Israel's fussing and whining again. Let's not be those kind of people. But let's also remember that God gives us moral commands that are also beneficial to us if we follow them. So, there you go. We're plugging on through Numbers. We're doing great, and I'll catch you next time.